Hello, on this video we're going to talk about the book called Earned Value Project Management, written by Quentin Fleming and Joel Koppelman. This book is under the PMI, the Project Management Institute, and we're going to cover some basic topics before jumping into the application of this technique in future videos. So the first question that comes to our minds is why EV is in use in all projects, where there are three main reasons that the book tell us. Their value, responsible people sometimes speak in a foreign tone. They speak too much technical words. The air value is comes from a different industry. The industrial engineers were the one who started employing. And finally, sometimes maybe the management really don't want to know which is the reality of the healthy of their projects. So in the book, it presented this um, history of the EV. So we can see that it's really spread his knowledge at least for the last 60 years. And at beginning of this century was released the ANSI standard, which try to put the most basic concept of this technique. Um, and EV is now used in all the world. I have the opportunity to read papers from Africa, Asia, Middle East, Europe, in all the countries. At least there is a way how EV was implemented. I'm trying to explain what is EV in a nutshell. And the easiest way to explain is that maybe we're using EV even in our daily life. So we can see this in the first picture. If we have a budget, say $1,000 for a holidays, and then we spend till now like $300 for making some bookings or making some paid in advance. So we have paid like three out of 1,000. But the EV comes to us, how much value have we got for those 300 that we already paid for it? So the EV framework adds a new value. In this second picture, we can see, for example, if we have a building that costs us 1 million, and we are in the month 3 out of 10 months, so we are at 3 divided by 10 means 30%. So a plan value till now should be like 30% of 1 million, 300,000. But then we realize that building the construction in the construction of this building, we have just complete 2 out of 10 stores. So it means we have complete or we have achieved or we have earned 20% of the project. So the value we have earned is just 200,000. Um, and finally, so if we ask, we're gonna spend just $100 million, or maybe we need to spend a little bit extra. So this is the third variable of the technique, which is the actual cost. Uh, to employ EV, we need to run through these 4 steps. We need to define the project scope through the BWBS. Then we need to plan and schedule the work, maybe using a scheduling tool like P6. Then we need to allocate the resources. What do we know? What do we need to achieve the project in those dates? And finally, we need to form the project baseline. A key uh, aspect is how do we capture the cost? And for that, the book mentioned the concept of control account plans, or this is also called, or we also know this by cost goals or control or cost accounts. The thing is, how do we capture the cost that is going to be compared for the progress we have made in the project? In this picture 9.5, the book summarizes which are the components, the key components of a control account plan, such as the statement of the work, the schedule, the days, how much is the budget for that package, uh, which package are inside that control account plan, who is the responsible person for that, and where comes the control account plan? Where the control account plan comes from the intersection between the BWBS and the OBS. So it means which is the person or the team responsible for deliver a specific scope, and in the BWBS tell us which is that scope that we need to achieve. How do we measure the progress, the performance? So there are different ways that we need to acknowledge. It depends which kind of control account we are pretending to measure. For example, a control account that refers to engineering or design that maybe we can measure in a stage. Like once the design is a certain progress, we'll allocate 25%. And when the design is finished, we allocate the 75 remaining. Maybe we can use a percent complete uh, based just in a percentage over 100,000, over 100%, sorry. And that means, for example, for all the activities related with finishes, like ceilings, partitions, painting. So maybe we don't need to know the exact quantity that we have progressed till now. If we are building a building again, then we have the floor number 10, or we have 10 floors, and we have paint now 9 of 10. So we can say we are 90% of the paint of all the project. So maybe we don't need to know the exact amount of square meters or square feet, because maybe it's more complicated to calculate the exact number than the outcome of that process. But for other activities such as concrete or steel, maybe we want to know the exact amount, like how many cubic meters that we pour of that activity. There are different ways. There are different composition of the baseline. The baseline is composed by the hours of the labor, subcontractors, material, indirect costs, and also it's like interest rates and finance costs and so on. Which are the factors that determine the final project results? The book told us that there are three key aspects. The first one is like, how was the quality of the baseline at the start of the project? So if the quality of the project, the baseline was good, so we can expect that we can estimate with more accuracy the end of the project. But if at the beginning of the project we didn't do a proper job doing the baseline, so it's not gonna take longer till the our indicators like CPI or SPI is gonna be they're gonna be our performance. So the second, which is the actual performance against the approved baseline. So that's why we track the EV each month. And first and most important, which is the determination of the management determination to influence in the final results. So which are the commitments, which are the interests of people responsible for deliver the project to change or to improve the actual performance. I'm not going to talk a lot about the formulas in this video. We're going to talk about it in the next videos, but um, a formula that calculates the estimated completion of the final cost at the end of the project is like dividing the budget by the cumulative CPI. I think so. I believe this is a way to see how the project is going to end, but this is not the last word. This is not just the division and that's it. This is the last word of the performance of the project. So because there are another factors that can affect the performance for the future that are different for the factors that affected in the past, like the weather, like the seasons, like the people, like the permits that we need in the future are not the same that they were we need in the past. A concept that is really interesting and mentioned in the book is how do we measure the schedule? And the schedule is measured by the basic indicator like such as schedule variance and SPI, but those are indicators that say the variation of time but in monetary unit, which is kind of tricky. If it's negative, it just tell us like the project is delayed, but for how much unit of time. So easy way to find this schedule variance on time is like the dotted line here is a R value curve, and the other line is the plan value. So making a horizontal projection of the EV of this month, and then a vertical projection is gonna tell us which is the when was expected that we achieve the R value that we just achieved now. So if we achieve the R value that was expected like 2 months ago, we can say we're 2 months behind. So it's expected that we are gonna deliver the project like 2 months later. But again, as the previous calculation about the estimated completion, this is not the final picture because in this graph we're not considering like terms such as the critical path, where maybe these 2 months are no one of the activities delayed were critical. So if we're just pushing work to the last stage of the project, but we're not going to end actually 2 months later. How to implement simple R value on all the projects. And this, I really like this, the way this sentence was put in the book. Is while you can practice good project management without EVM, so you can deliver a good project, and EV is not a requisite for all of the projects to have it. The the other side is not possible. You cannot practice good EVM without a good project management. So even though you want to implement this technique, if you don't have a good structure of the project, really good um, scope defined by the PWBS, so it's going to be really hard to implement the EV. And there is some key aspect that we need to take in the moment to implement the EV, like define the metrics, estimate the resources, capture all the costs, monitor constantly, continuously doing forecasts. Finally, the book presents us like 32 air value management system criteria across 5 groups, which are like at the organization level, at the planning scheduling level, accounting level, analysis criteria, and finally, which are the revisions criteria. So I really recommend have a review on this book. The book doesn't talk a lot about calculation, like uh, making such a fancy um, formulas with CPI, SPI. It really talks more about the foundation that we need to understand in order to implement the EV in our projects. So in the next video, I'm going to go in detail in a sample project how to use these concepts, but in a more practical way. Thank you.